So, you've gone from East End girl to calendar girl. Been
well, actually, I'm Motherwell more than Newt Hill, actually.
And a fair amount of success, which is largely down to talent, but I suppose it's down to hard work and people encouraging you along the way as well. What would you say to kids that are watching this that have a dream and an ambition?
I think actually watching, I mean, I watch X Factor and all of that, and I do sit and greet, you know, when somebody great comes on and does all that stuff. But I think it gives a false sense of how you achieve something. You know, people say to me, you know, oh, that was great, you've achieved this. It's been 30 years coming. You know, I've worked...
An overnight success in 30 years.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember Ricky Fulton saying something years ago that somebody had said to him, he was doing some speech, he was getting paid 10 grand or something for it. And so we were, oh, 10 grand for 20 minutes? And he went, no, 10 grand for 45 years. That's, you know, it's a different thing. And he worked, and I think that's the really important thing for me, that notion that creativity isn't just about going on the telly. Being creative and involved starts really early with kids, and even just I was a drama teacher before I came in the business, so I taught in high schools, and that seeing a kid flourish and being able just to go into an interview and be articulate enough to put their case forward, to be involved in a band, you know, everybody wants to pick up a guitar or have the confidence to even do that, to write poetry, to write a play, to think, oh, I'm a great singer, getting up and doing karaoke. All of those things are fantastic things for kids to be involved in. And the more they can do it, the better. I mean, in Barrowman High, where my kids are, the drama department is stowed. You know, 3 drama teachers, and all working really, really hard. You know, all... now, every one of those kids isn't going to go and become an actor, but every one of them will have learned what it's like to be in a team. It's like great footballers or whatever, what it's like to pull for other people, what it's like to stand on a stage and feel the lights and all that. That's a really, really valuable thing.
It's giving them choices as well.
It's choices. Do you want to do that, or you might go on and just want to be in the Apollo Players in Glasgow and enjoy it, or become whatever. You might go on and become a lawyer, but still have that creative side to you. And I think only really in the last 10 to 15 years has that side of kids' life really been concentrated on a wee bit more. You know, that actually being creative is the stuff of life. I remember going with a charity, Scottish Medical Aid for Nicaragua, when Nicaragua was just after the revolution, in dire poverty and all that. And we set up artists for Nicaragua, and we took over things like ballet shoes, guitar strings, all the things that the musicians couldn't get because there was an embargo and all that. And the Minister for Arts there, I remember her saying to me, but you must understand, in Nicaragua, you know, art is as important as bread. It's about feeding our souls. And I think for a lot of times, when I was brought up, it was like art and creativity were for posh folk. They weren't for the likes of me. You know, you could maybe do a Burns poem or sing a Frank Sinatra song on a Saturday night, but art or anything to do with that was not seen as being belonging to us. That was for other folk. And I think that has changed, and that's a great thing. But when you have areas with dire poverty and need and difficulties, I think people forget that part of life is really, really important as well.
Does it frustrate you that we're not talking about Nicaragua here, we're talking about somewhere that's less than 2 miles from the city centre in Glasgow?
Frustrate me, don't even go there. My rage and all my, you know, I'm mouthy and all that, as you well know, and have opinions on everything. But most of my opinions come from, and my political opinions are about justice, and about this isn't right. You know, that's what makes my blood boil. Not any political party or it's about the issue and the people at the bottom. You know, when I'm involved in politics, I always think, you know, when people give you their vote, it's a really, really precious thing. And for too many years, it's squandered. And all political parties do it. But for me, the votes of the people of the East End of Glasgow that have been, I've just got the pet see, they heard me.
Is this for you?
That's for me. Is that Alex Allen playing the, playing the pipes out the back? Thanks, Eck. But when you have people giving their votes for years, 50, 60 years, and you still see that life expectancy is 56, 57 for most men, that you see how people are living. My thing is, that's a disgrace. Shame on all of them for allowing that to keep going. And that has not changed enough for me. That level of poverty and the fact that this is going on in my own city is shameful.
And I assume because you've got involved with kids, you feel as if with kids are genuinely making a difference in the area.
Absolutely, and it is. Here's another thing: we can't expect government to do everything. We can't expect, if we give our vote over, that they'll take care of it. And for too long, there's been that sort of paternalistic thing in Scotland, where politicians went, "Don't you worry, we'll do it." And of course, they went away on a junket somewhere and spent all our money, but we'll not even go there. But actually, it's non-government organisations. We see it in Africa, we see it all over the place, that are actually doing that work that links everything up. And they have a freedom, maybe because they're not a government, to actually do things that are, and think out the box, if you like, as well. That seems to be the thing. When we were talking earlier, that I love to hear about with kids, is that linking up with social work, with education, with all these different programmes, and making sure that there is government impetus and cash as well as the fundraising. And I think when you get that, you actually get a better product in the end.
And they also, just to link it up, seem to link families together as well, which I think is a great thing.
Well, all too often, you know, there's a sense of shame. There's a sense about not having the same as everybody else. There's a sense of poverty. And you don't... I remember years ago doing a programme for BBC about diet, and was in Drumchapel. And it dealt with poverty as well. And one of the things they discovered was that when people went out... I mean, smoking actually, and you know, there's all this frowning about smoking. Smoking actually is a way of socially interacting, because they couldn't afford to go to a pub and buy a round of drinks, right? But what they could do is say, "Do you want a fag?" And they could swap cigarettes. So there was a sense of, oh, we can actually do something that other folk do that is socially acceptable, or maybe not that with smoking, but it allowed them that interaction that the middle classes or more well-off people could say, "Do you fancy a pint?" or whatever. They couldn't do that. And I think that is really important, that people get to link up, that they're not made to feel like charity cases either, you know, because again that keeps people away, because people have pride. Doesn't matter how poor you are, you have an incredible sense of pride.
We talked about the philosophy of charging for the cinema nights.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. You know, you might pay what you can afford. You can afford £1 to go to that, but no. Basically, you're getting £25 or £20 spent from the charity that they've worked hard to fundraise for. But what you're getting is, you're at least saying, "I'm putting something towards this," and that gives a bit of dignity to people as well, you know, and they feel that they are contributing what they can afford to go. And I think all too often, people are not allowed that dignity. And I think that there's you know, we know there are loads of people in this country who don't claim benefits that they are actually entitled to. There are other folk that claim a bit too many, but we'll not go there. But that's just the bankers. Anyway, that's terrible, a cheap gag. But you know, we know that there's a sense of shame and a stigma attached to that, and the way that With Kids approaches it seems to me on a very appropriate level for all the people involved, and so they're doing wonderful work.
Good. So, come the revolution.
That's next week.
You've won a couple of Oscars. You're the First Minister. Are you still going to live in the East End of Glasgow?
Yeah, I've always had that that thing. You know, I mean, I'm not moaning about it. It was been really important to me always to maintain that sort of sense of who you are. Scots hate nothing worse. I remember Alec Ferguson saying at a big awards thing, you know, there's nothing, you know, coming back to Scotland, you always worry that folk think you've got too big for your boots. And I said, oh, I mean, you forgot your old arse and got a new one, you know. So, and I think Scots really, they don't mind you having a house or a house in LA or whatever, but maintaining something here and not forgetting who you are and where you come from, I think is a really, really important thing.
Well, Elaine, I certainly don't think anybody can claim that of you. Thanks very much for this interview and for your support of With Kids. We'll keep you updated with.
Please do, and I'll do whatever I can to help. And good luck to With Kids.